excuses and throwing out old memories. Oh, something about this just doesn't sit quite right with me. Oh.
I'm out of whole beans, so I have to use pre-ground as my only option before I get flamed for it. I read somewhere online that you're supposed to brew coffee with water that's 195 to 200 degrees. I don't have a kettle that tells me the temperature or allows me to set the temperature, so I've been using a meat thermometer. It works. I don't know, I probably should just get a new kettle, but it works, and I just don't want to get flamed even more for my coffee making, because I know people on the internet like to do that, so.
Ooh, everything's gone and it's crystal clear. It's time to move on, but my heart
This mug is probably older than some of my followers. So, if you guys couldn't tell already, this video is drastically different than anything else I've put on YouTube. And the reason for that, well, there's a few reasons. I'm gonna go over them. One, I wanna share more filmmaking, videography focused type of videos on my YouTube. So if you guys have already subscribed to me, or if you know from the past, a lot of what I do, or most of what I do, or all of what I do, is just me talking to the camera about like different topics as far as like self-improvement my cat is a psycho. Just being a creative and like the life of a creative and like what I think about and what I experience and whatnot. And as far as that, like that's not going to change, but I want to just introduce more of my be more personal, share more lifestyle stuff in hopes of you either getting to know me more, and then through that I get to understand and know you more as we relate to and, you know, find ideally similarities and just, I don't know, share more of like my life. But the other reason for that is because I am a huge believer that always kind of like pushing the limits and going beyond what you normally do as a creative is the key catalyst for continuing to be creative and enjoying the process outside of like having a purpose and understanding your why for doing it. And something that's big for me is like understanding how to like get out of creative ruts when you are in them. And the main way that you can do that is through changing what you do, changing how you create, and just your approach entirely as a creative. A great example of this recently for me was buying new gear. I was very, very close to switching from Canon to Sony because I really just wanted to get into the Sony line as far as like video. And I was like so close to doing it. I literally had the Sony ZV-E1 and a bunch of lenses in my cart. And right as I was about to buy it, I realized that the new camera, as cool as it would be upgrading from Canon, wasn't going to allow me to do anything and create anything much different than what I already do. Sure, the quality might be better. I might be able to produce better color grades and have a better lens and like overall a more future-proof video system. But what I was actually able to make wasn't really going to change at all. Like the shots that I could get and all of that like wasn't going to change. And so instead what I decided to do was change some of the gear and get new gear that allowed me to create different shots. So for example, I got like a projection mount. Shout out to Godox. I love you, Godox. You guys are amazing. I got a new projection mount for my light so I can do like the cool like silhouettes and use gobos, I think they're called, to like fake like lights on the background. If you guys have seen my Instagram videos recently, the light on the background and like this shot is just not real. So that's like really cool. I got a new tripod, which I'm using right now. It's like my first actual video tripod. Like it's got a fluid head and everything. And like a big one is I also got a new slider. And so with these different types of gear that I didn't have previously, it allows me to now create shots that I otherwise would not be able to do. And through that helps me like fuel my creativity in a way that I can now produce shots that I otherwise wouldn't be able to produce. Or when I'm ideating shot like a storyboard, I'm able to like include shots that I otherwise wouldn't be able to do, which kind of unlocks like a new level, if you will, of like freedom when it comes to videography. And also just helps you stand out on social media, right? Like if you don't want to look like everybody else, just ask yourself, what can I do to not look like everybody else? And I understand like some people, like you might not have the budget for a slider. Also, my slider was a very cheap one. It was like literally, like relative to sliders, it was very cheap. But I understand that everyone has like maybe a budget for new equipment, but what you can also do is just look at it in a way of like, What about yourself can you share? Like, what about where you live can you share? I used to complain a lot, and I still do, about the fact that it's so cold and snows where I live. And to me, that was like annoying because it was cold. It was hard to film outside. But for a lot of people, that's like sick because they wouldn't be able to get shots like with snow because they live somewhere where there's not snow. So basically, rather than looking at your life and the things that you have as like a crutch, ask yourself more so, how can I utilize this to be unique because other people don't have it? And so that's like one key part when it comes to getting out of a creative rut and like really pushing the boundaries as a creative and being consistently inspired to create. Can simply be, you know, stop consuming everything and start just looking at things in your life that you can utilize to stand out and kind of unlock a new area of creativity that you otherwise weren't accessing because you just weren't aware of it. Dude, my cat is a demon. Stop, bro. But yeah, I'm gonna just kind of also take you along for the rest of my day and share kind of what I do on a day-to-day and also just random reflections and experiences and other stuff that I want to share. So right now I have some random admin work. And then after that, I got to finish up an edit for myself, finish up an edit for a client, and then, yeah, see where the day takes us. This mic just is amazing with XLR and phantom power, but when it comes to recording on camera, I just can't get it to work well. Now, on the topic of being in creative ruts and getting out of them, and on the topic of cleaning my space, that is another thing that is wildly important as a creative, is having a space that is optimized for you to create. I think a lot of people neglect this. And don't get me wrong, again, with like the budget thing, I know not everyone can just have a space that's dedicated to creating or like have a budget to just like make the coolest office everywhere. Also, ignore my sweatshirt. I was doing dishes and poured water on myself. But creating a space that is as optimized as possible for you to create is essential, especially when it comes to be creating consistently. Like having a space where you remove, you know, as much friction as you can to setting up a camera and recording, or just a space that just inspires you to create. If you follow my Instagram, you know that I just built this workbench and pegboard and stuff and have a lot of like analog things like using a pencil and eraser and like printing out storyboards and just having more things creatively like analog for me has been a huge thing that has helped me be more creative more consistently. So like utilize your space for what it is for. If you have a dedicated office or just somewhere that you use to be creative, use that to the best of your ability and make it somewhere that excites you to go to or to go to work in or create in, because it'll just help you be that much more inspired. It kind of piggybacks the idea of like having more things to help you stand out on social media. Also having more things, I'm a minimalist at heart, but having more things to create around also helps you be more creative. Like again, this workbench, like having this workbench allows me to have a different corner of my office that I can use to film and I can use for different creative shots and just be more creative. The creative word counter is probably at like 100 for this video, but the key here is just to like make it easier for yourself. Like remove the friction. If there's things that's stopping you from being creative, or there's things you can do to help you be more creative, do them. Like get stuff that helps you be creative and helps you be more unique. And clean your fucking desk. No dirty workspaces here. I'm also gonna sound like a wild hypocrite here because I literally did not do what I'm about to say, but cleaning up the night before your space, your creative space, gives you a fresh start tomorrow. If, you know, yesterday or today was like a busy day and it was super stressful and you had a lot going on, a lot of projects to finish, there's no need to carry that over to the next day. Like if you can just leave that in the past, do it. And so this is a perfect example, but by leaving all of my stuff out from yesterday's shoot, I now have to deal with yesterday's headache of cleaning today. When if I just got it done yesterday, it's a blank slate for today. So leave your messes yesterday. Start each day with a new clean slate that allows you, again, to just focus on being creative and being productive and not having to worry about yesterday's problem. So now I need to clean this up. So there's one last tip that I want to talk about when it comes to getting out of creative ruts and being creative more consistently. And I mentioned it or alluded to it like 5 seconds ago. And that is the whole idea of being more analog. So I've been like an avid person of using, I'm a huge like Notion person. If you follow me at all, you know that. And I'm a huge person of like making your process more efficient. So you have to spend less time worrying about the small things that don't matter. However, there is certainly value in slowing down the creative process, because when you become over systematized and like overly efficient, especially as a creative, you just kind of lose that creativity, because the goal becomes how quickly can I get this done, not how can I like maximize my creative efforts. And so there are certain things in my process that I've done the opposite of, and I've actually tried to slow down and not speed up. One of those things being storyboarding. You've probably seen these in my videos recently. This is not the newest version of this, but I've created like a storyboard template for me to print out down here and write out all of my scripts and my shot lists and everything entirely by hand, because what this does is it really makes me be intentional with my script, with my hook, with everything, with my shots and what I'm doing, and helps me really visualize and understand what it is that I'm trying to achieve. So something like this is like, I'm super a fan of slowing down and making, less efficient, because it helps you be more creative, more intentional, and typically create a much better result in the end. And I've been doing this for like a few things. Let me turn that on. Whoa, that's bright. Much better. But just things like using a pencil instead of typing and writing things out. Or I'm a huge fan of field notes. You see these in my videos all the time. Field notes, if you want to sponsor me, I would love to. But just like writing my to-do list out and writing notes down and like literally just putting things pen to paper, because I feel like I remember it much better. And just, like being more analog in what you do, because it allows you to slow down and really kind of appreciate what you're doing and just be much more intentional with what you're doing and make it more of an activity and something you enjoy than just a task that needs to be completed, right? Like if you're a creator, the number one aspect of your brand and what you do is being creative. Like we get paid for our creativity. And so if we just remove all the creativity out of our process, we kind of lose a lot about it that makes us us. So I don't know, try for yourself how you can like slow down and be more analog and maybe make different parts of your process less efficient, because it'll probably help you be more creative when you force yourself to slow down. So like those are just, I guess, a handful of ways that I have been able to be more consistent with my creativity and get myself out of creativity or creative ruts and just kind of rediscover my creativity. I plan on like documenting my whole day, but frankly, the rest of the day is not exciting. It's just editing. And this video is already gonna be a lot longer than I planned for the beginning of it to be. So if you take anything away from this, just in order for your situation to change, you must change things about it. So when it comes to being creative and being in creative ruts and standing out, you have to go against what you've already been doing. If you feel like you're in a routine that's not generating you the results that you want, change your routine. Change whether that means the gear that you're using to film your videos, whether that means where you're working, whether it means what you're using to work, how you're working. So like the storyboard thing. Change things about your routine. What worked for me might not work for you. It's more so the principle of the idea of introducing new things that slow you down and really make you be more intentional with what you're doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. I know this is way different. This is the first trial at this, so it's probably gonna be horrible, but that's okay. We learn through trying and failing and improving. So can't have video 100 without video 1. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I will see you next week. Peace.
Wow.